All right, welcome along to the RTÉ Soccer Podcast. I'm Raf Diallo and joined by James McMahon today. This is but a starter essentially before the main course on Tuesday. There are Monday night fixtures in the SSE Airtricity League Premier Division, which we'll be reacting to in full when we're joined by Lisa Fallon and James O'Toole tomorrow. But for today, we're going to be looking back at the Friday night games, which included Derry City's big win over Shamrock Rovers. And also we are going to talk about something, James, that will henceforth be known as the Caoimhin Cup Final, or Caoimhin Kelleher Cup Final to give it its full name. So Liverpool played Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, Jim. I presume you caught a bit of it anyway, because there was only one show in town. There was only one show in town, and that was the goalkeeper.
That's very much true, Raf. I mean, they talk about the Caoimhin Kelleher Cup Finals. He's now can be spoken about maybe in the annals of Stanley Matthews, who was talking about the 1953 Cup Final. Yeah, I mean, Caoimhin during the 120 plus minutes of yesterday's final produced about 3 or 4 very telling saves that kept, because in truth, I mean, Chelsea had not by far, but Chelsea had the greater of the chances at Wembley yesterday, and perhaps should have won the game. But Caoimhin displayed his usual unflappability, his coolness, his calmness, good with his feet, good with this, obviously playing out the ball with his feet, good distribution and all that. And then it came to the penalties. He got close to a couple of them.
Yeah, there was the one on, I think it was Alonso's penalty, the first one, and then there was Reece James, he was on the right side for, and then Timo Werner as well, he got very close to. But again, like, I think it was also helped the fact that the Chelsea goalkeeper didn't save any of his either. Kepa, who was kind of brought in last minute for the shootout when Mendy was taken off. Yeah,
that's right. And then when it came to Caoimhin taking his kick, I mean, he dispatched it with great authority, no doubts. Whereas when Kepa came up to take his kick, it was like he was taking a kick out. Or, you know, he was like he was belting the ball up the field. So
yeah, taking his points.
Take your points. Well, they say in the other code that you take your points and the goals will come, but it didn't. it didn't work like that for Kepa yesterday. So look, I mean, for Caoimhin, look, he's made his debut for Liverpool back in September 2019. He's played 17 times for them. He's been on the winning team 13 occasions. And just to go back through his career, I mean, I'm sure you remember that 5-5 League Cup game with Arsenal.
Yeah, I do.
The 30th of October 2019. And look, there was he conceded 5 goals that night. Perhaps there were 2 of them that he could have stopped. But he also saved a penalty in the shootout. And therefore, like, I mean, he's really got his taste of it all. I mean, he has a Champions League medal. He's played in the Champions League. He's played in the Premier League. He's played in the League Cup. I assume he's going to play on Wednesday night in the FA Cup match against Norwich, which is a fair chance. Yeah, which there's a fair chance that Liverpool will win. That moves them on to a quarter final. So there's a chance that, you know, who knows, maybe Caoimhin might be back at Wembley again come May for the FA Cup final. So look, it's quite telling as well in the week that his manager, and he's been ringing the plaudits about Caoimhin over the last 24 hours, but he did hint last week, Klopp, that maybe Caoimhin may not be at the club forever. I mean, there's a fair possibility that if Caoimhin's graph rises and rises and rises, that some club is going to come in for him, you know what I mean? Or is he a player that wants to stay at Liverpool and be the number 2 to whom Klopp thinks is the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment, in Alisson?
Yeah, you'd like to think that Kelleher would be slightly selfish, though, from an Irish perspective, and solely from a perspective on this island, because again, like, playing for Liverpool, I mean, there's a lot of people grow up dreaming of playing for them, but at the end of the day, you know, he's battling with Gavin Bazunu for the Ireland number 1 jersey. Bazunu has the advantage, he's off on loan at Portsmouth where he's getting games all the time, and that's not necessarily the reason why he's been made number 1. I think, if I recall correctly, Kelleher had an injury when Bazunu got his debut, but from Kelleher's point of view, he needs games. Like, he's had a lot of cameos now for Liverpool. He's proven himself, as we saw yesterday. And yesterday, as he said, he has a Champions League medal, but yesterday is different in that he was actually involved, which is completely different from when he was the number 3 back in 2019. So from our perspective, even if it's a loan deal, just to show what he can do week in, week out, it can only help him develop better, because he's going to be moving into the prime of his career in the next few years. And it will be a shame, because given Alisson is not that old, Alisson is at the peak of his career. He's got a number of years left. So for Kelleher could realistically be sitting there as number 2 for the next 5 years. And what good is that going to do him?
Yeah. And in terms of Ireland, I mean, it begs the question, I suppose, look, people go back to, like when Ray Clemens and Peter Shilton were vying for the England jersey, or who's the better commentator, Barry Davis or John Motson? If you were to compare Gavin and Caoimhin, and people will ask that question, well, who is the better goalkeeper? I mean, I suppose it's very, very hard to say, because if you look at the save that Gavin made against Luxembourg, I mean, back last November, I mean, that shows you the agility that he has. And we also should remember as well that on Saturday we have a certain Mr. Mark Travers as well for Bournemouth doing the.
Who had a very good game at the weekend, by all accounts, yeah.
Against Stoke. And the likelihood is that Bournemouth, that they could be in the top flight next season. So we could have 2 players playing in the top flight next season, but yet Ireland's number 1 goalkeeper, as things stand, is playing in the 3rd tier.
In the 3rd tier with Portsmouth, yeah.
So, and there's probably will Gavin ever get back to Man City? I mean, their number 1 isn't probably going to go anywhere soon, isn't going anywhere soon. So, look, I mean, it's been a great day or a great last 2 and a bit years for Caoimhin, as you say, but great cameos for him. But we would like to see him playing football week in, week out. And the chances are that probably will not be at Liverpool in the short term anyways.
Yeah, a loan deal similar to what Gavin Bazunu has done would probably do him the world of good, especially, but not in the 3rd tier. I think his level is much higher than that. And whether it could be on the continent as well, there's a lot of, there's the movement of players now, especially Irish players elsewhere. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the Premier League, and it can still thrive. So we'll see how that goes. But it was, we knew we'd be talking about Caoimhin today, but it was very helpful that it ended up being the narrative ended up being it going to penalties and him taking what essentially was the winning kick, even though I think he said in the Sky Sports interview, I don't think he realised exactly what the setup was, but it was a great kick. It's just unfortunate we have so many good goalkeepers at the moment. From an Irish perspective, you'd think maybe if I think he used to play up front, I think, for Ringman, didn't he? So
he did, he played up front. Also as well, I mean, would there be a possibility that he could start the game against Belgium, the friendly at the end of March?
Given it's a friendly, I would imagine there's a good chance he will start one of those 2 games. I think Gavin Bazunu will probably be given one of them as well, but again, I don't know which one. There's Lithuania there, of course, but it could be an either or. But we'll see. We're still about was it 3 or 4 weeks away.
3 weeks from next Saturday.
Yeah. So that, I think, brings us to an end for the slight international focus, because there was a lot of domestic soccer on Friday night. And just to run through the results, Derry City 2, Shamrock Rovers 1, which was on RTÉ 2 and RTÉ Player, and probably the biggest game of the weekend. UCD 0, Finn Harps 0. St. Pat's 1, Sligo Rovers 2. I think that one probably caught your eye, I would imagine. Yeah,
it did, yeah. I didn't expect Sligo maybe to come out on top in that one. Pat's on the back of a 3-0 win over Shells. But Sligo, by all accounts, played really, really well. And their number 9, Aidan Keena, former Pats man, played really, really well. Not just as a front man, but as a man also who could come deep for the ball. And at the end of it all, I think it was a deserved win for Sligo. Pats did get one back, 82 minutes, and they had a chance to level it up near the end. But again, a packed house at Inchicore for that game. Sligo will be happy. I still think it might be a bit of push for them to get European football. I think it's a little bit more competitive up at the top end of the table, and they have to head to Derry tonight. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. But certainly a really, really good start, and a pity that they didn't get to play their opening game against Bohemians, because maybe there's a chance that they could be sitting pretty at the top of the table on 6 points at this stage, So, but good outcome for Sligo, and their signings did well as well. They had 4 new players, and by all accounts, they kind of seamlessly fitted into the system there on Friday evening. And Owen Doyle perhaps was somewhat quiet, for Pats at the other number 9. So, look, good start, and hopefully it will continue.
Yeah, we'll be. You mentioned Derry there. We'll talk about them in a second. We've got a bit of post-match reaction. They were the manager Rory Higgins was speaking to Tony O'Donoghue, as was Captain Ronan Finn. But before that, Drogheda United 0, Shelbourne 2, which is a big win for Damien Duff, especially after how the first week went. And then Bohemians 2, Dundalk 2, which you were at, I know, but we'll come to that very shortly. And then in the first division, Waterford 1, Bray 0. So Waterford continue their good start. Cove 2, Wexford 3. Cork City 0, Galway 1. We'll come to that game and just the aftermath a little bit later on. But first, Derry City, Shamrock Rovers 2-1 win for Derry. Will Patching penalty, Dylan Watts with a free kick to level it, but then Jamie McGonigal with a late winner. So first off, we're going to listen to Rory Higgins and Ronan Finn.
A great win for us in front of a packed house as well. So hopefully it entices them to come back.
Jamie McGonigal, what a way to win a match.
He's an outstanding footballer, and the beauty about that one is that with the likes of Rovers and all the bigger clubs in the south, that because he was playing in the Irish League, he probably went under the radar. I played with him a few years ago and knew what he was capable of, but physically he's turned himself into a real professional footballer, and we're seeing the fruits of it now.
The first goal, was that off the training ground?
It was, yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Well, when they work, they're great. When they don't, you look like you know what I mean. But no, it was off the training ground. We won our penalty, and Will Patching puts it away well, and then a sublime second goal. They won the game.
So what does that mean for the season?
It means nothing. It means we've 4 points from a possible 6, and we've got Sligo now on Monday, and we want to try and capitalise on that.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Think you deserved a point tonight?
I think, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think coming up to Derry, difficult conditions, so late in the game, you're taking your point all day and you're going back down the road. Quite happy to prepare for Drogheda. Now we've got to pick ourselves up and get ready for Monday night.
It was sloppy though from Rovers, wasn't it?
Wasn't vintage, but I think you look at the conditions, obviously the crowd here, but you're right, we've got to take that, we've got to improve, because we know there's a target on our back. Obviously playing for Shamrock Rovers, that's natural, being league champions even more so. So we've got to, we've got to be ready for Monday.
Thanks, Ronan.
Thank you.
All right, Jim. So that was Shamrock Rovers captain Ronan Finn, and before that, Derry City manager Rory Higgins, kind of summing up their thoughts on the game. I suppose from a Shamrock Rovers perspective, they're still expected to go on and, with the depth they have in the squad, to go on and win this league title. Not necessarily as handily as they did last season, but from the way Finn was speaking there, he doesn't seem overly perturbed, or maybe that's just the sort of impression he's giving.
Yeah, well, I suppose 2 games in, I mean, I'm just thinking like Shamrock Rovers last season, particularly in the first half of last season, where they were the kings of the late goals, but they got one on them on Friday evening. Yeah, they're perhaps not quite flowing yet. I mean, it's only 2 games in. I don't think they were overly impressive beating UCD on the opening night. And yeah, I thought from the highlights I've seen, maybe not as fluent. Some of the passing was a little bit sloppy. And then, of course, Lopez making the mistake. I mean, last month we were talking about his exploits in the AFCON. But
yeah, I was speaking to him as well just before he went away. Look, but obviously he's still getting back into gear as well, because obviously he was away on another continent playing in a competition. But everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah, but I mean, the winning goal for Derry, I mean, it was so well taken, because he had quite a bit to do even after that slack pass, and it really was a cool finish, you know what I mean? And look, there was a full house there at the Brandywell, and I know there was people running onto the pitch and all that, but I mean, Derry's football. I mean, they're football mad up there in Derry. And like, you're talking about pressure as well on people. I'd say this year, with all the finance and all the backing that Derry have got, there probably is, that added pressure on Rory Higgins, to at least challenge hard for the title. at least be playing European football, and for them maybe to jump a couple of rounds in the Conference League when they play in Europe during the summer. So
there was a bit of a sense, because the way I framed the question when we were doing the preview kind of last week was whether this Shamrock Rovers game had come a little bit too early for Derry City. Clearly, as we saw, it hadn't. They were able to put it up to them and then also get the winner. If they can build on it, and they're playing Sligo tonight, which makes, as you said, which makes it very, very exciting.
And also as well, Raf, they played Dundalk in their opening game, at Oriel Park, and were probably disappointed not to get the 3 points in that game. So they too could be sitting pretty at the top of the table, and they'll probably, with home advantage, fancy themselves against Sligo tonight. I mean, I thought from the bits I saw of the game, I thought Brendan Kavanagh was very good, really lively, and also thought Will Patching stood out as well.
And they still have Michael Duffy to come back. Patrick McElhenney only came on as a sub as well.
So I think Derry have reasons to be cheerful,
Yeah. So do you see them as sort of a little bit ahead of schedule? Because I think there was a sense that this was the way Rory Higgins has been speaking. It's going to be a slow building process. They've looked out Shamrock Rovers slowly built over time into this sort of machine. So if they've started well, obviously there's going to be ups and downs as the season goes on. But it seems that they're sort of where they want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe not. We probably don't see them as league winners at the end of the year. But I mean, it was only a couple of seasons ago that Derry were really, really struggling. So I would have them top three, definitely top three if come the end.
So Shamrock Rovers will be playing Drogheda tonight, and then, as we said, Derry playing Sligo, who we did talk about there, and probably just to give a bit of clarity to people, you are from Sligo, which is why I stopped at that point.
No, but I try to be. I always try to be try to be fair, and obviously people have their teams and all that, and I did say it, whilst I have my doubts as to whether Sligo can make the top four, but from what I saw, just to rehash or to go back from what they showed on Friday night, maybe that assessment may not bear fruit come the end of the season. So
you're saying they're going to win the title?
Well, 10 years. 10 years after Liverpool won the Carabao Cup 10 years after last winning it. Why can't Sligo win the league 10 years after they last won it? So we'll see.
There's the headline in the clip that we're going to be putting out later on. But anyway, I'm a pure neutral. As a Leitrim man, I'm sort of between Sligo Rovers, Longford Town. So I always had a foot in different camps. And so for this podcast, I don't know, maybe I'm a perfect vantage point here. But as we said, Damien Duff, big win, Shelbourne winning 2-0 at Drogheda United. We'll talk a little bit about Drogheda very shortly. So Daniel Hawkins and Mark Coyle with the goals at either end of the second half. There was obvious hype when Shelbourne were about to play St. Pat's, and it didn't quite work out. They played on the front foot, but they kept getting caught by Pat's last time out. So it would have been a worry for Duff had they gone maybe on a run without winning or waiting for a first win. So to get that out of the way and do it comfortably enough is good for them. Second game in, after being beaten 3-0 first time out, but I think they were good value for the win. I think Drogheda were somewhat disappointing, you know what I mean? I know they did hand a couple of debuts to, I think, 4 players, and it was their first game of the season, but still though, and of course Drogheda have to go to Shamrock Rovers tonight. But for Duff, you're talking, there's lots of eyes and ears on Duff. And also as well, Shell getting extra backing that we heard there last week, and the prospect of them, with Tolka Park being redeveloped and all that. So Shells, I thought against Pats showed some patches of good football, but they also showed their naivety as well. So look, for Damien Duff, it's going to be an interesting journey. I'm sure Damien will have plenty of good sound bites for us people, for us scribes in the media and all that. So we'll watch their progress quite closely. Yeah, as we saw also on Friday night, UCD and Finn Harps drew 0-0. Now, UCD had lost their opening game 3-0 Shamrock Rovers, not unexpected, and Finn Harps, because of the stormy conditions up in Ballybuffet. The previous weekend didn't play, but so this is the first time we were seeing them. They seemed to have the better of the game. They were more direct. UCD technically very good, as usually UCD teams are. And goalkeeper Lorcan Healy very busy. But this isn't a result, given where we expect these two teams to be as the season wears on. It's not exactly a good result for either. Depending on which side you're on, you're looking for, it's very early to be calling it a relegation 6-pointer.
Oh yeah, it is.
Realistically, it could be. So you'd be looking to get some sort of advantage head to head.
Yeah, I think either of those teams would have wanted the 3 points on Friday night. I mean, the students apparently played some nice touch football, but didn't really threaten much up at the danger area. Harps had the better chances, and I think the students' keeper was the busier of the two. Look, I mean, Ollie Horgan, like, if you talk about Harps, they're 3-4 years back in the top flight. They have one of the most shrewdest managers in the league. I think he's a very clever, astute man. He's bought. It'll be interesting to see from all the players that he's bought in from abroad how they're going to get on. But I'd still, come the end of it all, I'd still be confident that Harps will have enough about them to be able to stay up. Like to keep afloat. You know what I mean? Yeah,
because it's going to be UCD and probably Drogheda in and around them. So it's Pip and one, trying to make a relegation playoff maybe. But we'll see how that one plays out. Obviously, as the week goes on, we'll read out the tonight's fixtures in relation to UCD very shortly. But before that, you were at Bohemians Dundalk on Friday night, and this is the first time we're seeing Bohs, and we had seen Dundalk, who had also had a 2-2 draw the week before against Derry City. So there seems to be defensive concerns there. Like Dundalk have started reasonably well, but it's 2 draws, 2 high-scoring draws.
2 high-scoring draws, and I'd say, Raf, probably defensive concerns for both teams on Friday night. I mean, Bohs conceded 2 goals that were, that could have been avoided. Kind of no marking in the box, free headers, and all that. And I also thought what was noticeable in the last half an hour of the game, Dundalk really got a grip on things. They really got a grip on things in midfield. I thought their passing was a lot crisper and sharper. And at the end of it all, I think they would have been disappointed that they didn't take the full 3 points from the game. But the build-up between Twardek and Promise for the first Bohs goal was excellent. Lovely finish, lovely, sweet finish by Promise. I think he got a bit of a deflection. So Bohs, again, a bit like Sligo, obviously they've been in Europe for the last couple of seasons. You kind of wonder where they're going to be. You know what I mean? Are we looking at maybe Derry, Pats, Shamrock Rovers 3, and maybe Dundalk possibly? And we're just wondering where Bohs are going to fit into it. But from what I saw on Friday night, I think Dundalk, who took a while to get into the game, but they certainly finished the game very, very strongly. And I thought they were physically more imposing in that last half an hour as well. So, but a really enjoyable game at Bohs, full house. I was told the curry chips are nicer than ever at Dalymount. So, it was a good game. Good game to see in the flesh in front of a full house in about over 2 years or close to 2 years. But
I think Dalymount, other than Richmond Park, I think Dalymount is probably the only chip van I haven't really gone near yet, or haven't had the opportunity to walk all the way down to get. I would have always recommended the UCD and Bray ones. Were always quite handy when I was covering games on a Friday. Yeah,
I'm also amused, whilst people, it's the amount of people that go down during the game. I mean, do they not come to watch the game? I'm often amazed as well when I'm at the Aviva or other venues, the amount of people that get up. I know some people, you have to go to the toilet, you might, whatever, but are walking around and hold on a minute, there's a game, you paid money to come in to watch this, you know what I mean? It's often, I'm often quite surprised by that. But anyways, I'm sure the people at the vending at the curry shop aren't too happy, aren't too unhappy, I should say. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, well, I'll if I'm back once I'm back at games, I'll give it a little tour and test out all these different vans and see what the quality is like. Before we go, so the first division, so good start for Galway United, winning 1-0 at Cork City. Cork had started really well previously, beating Bray 6-0. So it's a little setback, but then Galway are expected to be in and around the promotion chase as well. Now, the only thing with Cork, Colin Healy is temporarily, or the manager, he's temporarily stepping away, which is going to lead to, I suppose, interesting times until his return.
That's right. Yeah, Cork would be one of the teams fancied to be in the mix for the automatic promotion spot. Yeah, but also as well on Friday night at Turner's Cross, I think a crowd of 5,000 down there.
Yeah, it was a huge crowd for that game. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That should show you. But by all accounts, Galway, I think, deserved the win, and also a good win for Waterford as well, who'd also be expected to be.
I think from the way Carl Shepherd and Gary Rogers were speaking on the podcast last week, it's Waterford are the favourites to go straight up, and then it's sort of Cork City and Galway probably are next, and then potentially we haven't seen Longford Town yet. Like they had a bye this week, and also their first game was called off. So we don't really know where they're at. So it would be interesting to see how that kind of shapes up. But it's a good start for Galway in a head-to-head like that.
That's right. And I'd say as well, Raf, for John Caulfield, there will be that pressure on him this season, to do the business, because I think most fans of Galway would have been disappointed when they lost, I think it was to Bray in the playoff last season. People would have expected Galway to at least get to the playoff final, you know what I mean, which they didn't do. So and Galway have a huge, again, there's a huge interest there. I'm sure crowds, they have a good fan base, getting 3,000-4,000 to their games as well. And I think a club like Galway and like Waterford, I know we've spoken about this before, and it's nothing against any sort of teams around the East Coast, but it would be good to have a spread of teams right around the country, in the top flight as well.
Yeah, because I think Conor Neville was on this podcast about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but he did make the astute point that Longford, his own home county, are I think the most northernmost team in the first division this year. Whereas the way the Premier Division is shaped up, there's a clutch of teams up in the kind of northwest area.
West, yeah.
You have the clubs around Dublin, and then you have the two in Louth, and that's essentially it. And then the first division is sort of like a Munster kind of Connacht kind of thing, with Longford thrown in as well.
Yeah. Just one other thing, Raf, just before we go, I know there's a 36-game season in the Premier Division, and it's between now and November the 4th, I think, to play games. And obviously there's international breaks that there will not be any games on. But I just think in terms of having Monday night fixtures, maybe it might have been better to wait a few weeks to have those fixtures, just to get for teams to get up and running and all that. I think playing maybe 3 days after, so early in the season, after Friday night, might be unfair on some teams. And I would have rather maybe, let's say, Easter Monday or a couple of the bank holidays, those Mondays to have games on. But look, it's only a small point. It's just my thinking on it.
Well, it's something that we'll put to Lisa Fallon when she's on tomorrow, because from the coaching perspective, how do you deal with that very quick turnaround? And she'll obviously know from her experience working with different clubs how that kind of works, because it would be a challenge, especially a League of Ireland level, especially for teams kind of lower down.
But I was even reading what the Bows assistant was saying, after, tough game, competitive game on Friday, having to kind of come back down, do a bit of work on Saturday, and then you're out again on Monday. You know what I mean? So I just think maybe if you had 6 or 7 games played and then to have your first Monday fixture. But look, I don't make these decisions.
No, the fixture gods write that. So before we go, the fixtures that are on tonight: UCD v Shells, Dundalk v Finn Harps, Bows v Pats, Derry City v Sligo Rovers, Shamrock Rovers versus Drogheda United. And we're going to be back tomorrow. I said this was a starter, but it's quite substantial. We're going to be back for the main course tomorrow. With Lisa Fallon, and James O'Toole is also coming back, and we'll be looking ahead to the Women's National League season, and Sligo Sligo Rovers being the 10th team there. So I'm sure that's going to be of interest for yourself. They're kind of joining. So it has been a 9-team league for the last while, but moving up to 10, and then also we'll be reacting to the Monday night games. So Jim, I'll let that starter sink in, and then we'll be back for the main course tomorrow. Maybe a bit of dessert.
Yeah, I think so. And should we have an aperitif? I think we missed the aperitif, did we? Should we go for the aperitif?
I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. We shouldn't have. But anyways, Raf, as always, a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a million, Jim.